That is Bradley McCaw featuring Nathan East and Louis Shelton with a song that is called Worried Minds, taken from an album called Worried Minds, which is also the name of a podcast, I believe. So I tell you
Goodness, there's a fair bit going on then.
I tell you who
Should
does
we be worried?
I don't know. I tell you, I've got a worried mind over it, I've got to tell you. But I reckon I know someone who knows a bit more about this than we do, and his name is, in fact, Bradley McCaw. G'day, Brad.
Hello, fellas. How are we?
Good morning, Brad. Apologies to you for talking so long to you, so you missed out on hearing yourself singing.
No, it's nice. I heard just the right amount of an...
No, let's not get down that path. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's lovely to be back. This is my third jersey.
Yes, indeed.
Like chatting.
Definite friend of the show.
Yep.
And I think, what's that third game, that third match, you're starting to understand the stakes. You're starting to understand the situation, your role. I'm really enjoying the run on. So, blow the whistle, boys. I'm ready.
Beautifully done.
Yeah. I'm sure there's an AFL type equivalent to that too.
Australian rules football, possibly, Neil.
Every time.
Try that one instead.
Brad, you and I have chatted a fair bit off the wireless about what's coming in 2026, but I thought, you know what, Rob needs to know this as well, and if there's anyone listening to this radio show, they'll probably hear about it as well.
Yeah, it's lovely to chat with you guys at this moment in time, because our chats have really been little chapters or little signposts, I guess, in my career or in the things that I've been doing. And you're one of the first shows that I spoke to about my first single. I think So Glad. I think we chatted about, or Someone Like You, one of the first songs. And then, the next time we chatted was when my album was about to come out, which is where this next chapter sort of started from, which was this podcast that will lead into new music. Wink, wink. It's sort of like a surprise in the show. But so this podcast that's about the 10 years I spent making my debut album, and the odyssey that was, and the journey that was for myself to go from a guy that didn't really know what he wanted to do and was a classical singer and didn't really know where he fit, to coming up with this dream of making a 70s record, and then, meeting the music legends to make it, and then, having to learn how to release it, and then sort of 10 years later dealing with the fact that it was done. It became, the deeper I looked into it, the more that it really did feel like the end of a chapter. And the releasing of the podcast feels like the beginning of a new one. So it's lovely to kind of be back with you guys talking about it, because it really is. You've been such a part of the, the whole story.
That's very kind. For those who don't know a bit about you, we've obviously been tracking along. You mentioned you were a classical singer. You grew up in Brisbane?
So I'm actually Victorian.
Oh, we didn't know that.
I know. I don't talk about it very often, but
No.
I figure now that I'm a Lions supporter, I have to actually sort of declare it.
Well, you're an absolute winner if you're a Lions supporter. You know that.
Yeah. But the Fitzroy boys, I just need them to know that I see you.
I feel good about that.
Yeah. So I ended up in Brisbane, and that's where I've done my formative years and started to build my career from. And that is where I was a part of the 10 Tenors from Brisbane and toured the world with them, and that started sort of everything. But yeah, classical music, musical theatre, that's where I started before this silly idea of doing rock music.
So the album, you said, it took you sort of 10 years to get from A to B. What comes first? Do you sit down and go, I want to write an album? Or do you think, hang on, I've got 10 songs here, I better make an album?
Yeah, what a great question. I was not sure. For me, I'd been writing songs since I was in high school, and I'd written musical theatre songs, and I'd written some cabaret songs, and I'd written, a lot of pop songs and rock songs, but I was kind of just playing around with local bands and things like that. And then one day I spoke to a friend on the phone, and he gave me a piece of advice, and then I wrote the first song, Worried Minds, and that was sort of the beginning of going, actually, I think this could be a real 70s song, or like 70s inspired, or kind of be close enough to what I love about this music. And then that sort of started the idea that this album could happen, that it wasn't just a crazy idea or just a fantasy. And from there, the more songs started to come, and it started to grow, and that's kind of the first step. I think it is different for every artist, because for me, doing such a this has become a bit of a life's work. It is also a passion, and I love this music, as you guys know, and I love talking to the legends and meeting the legends and asking them how they do it, and hearing Louis Shelton's stories about when he played with the Monkees and Jackson 5 and Lionel Richie, and he talks about how they recorded, and he tells me stories of Neil Diamond bringing in songs unfinished and how they shaped that. All of that is how, it is just music making, but there's sort of like a through line that I wanted to capture to try and preserve and sort of try to carry on a bit of that tradition as the world of music goes wherever it goes. So an artist that maybe is naturally a country artist, they might have a different journey because their songs are just country. I was like, how do I make these songs so the 70s guys would go, yeah, this is hip, this is cool, so that's how it kind of begun for me.
With your varied musical background, and you're one of those people, there's many in Australia, highly talented, you've got a really good product and style, but you're still on the cusp, if you like, on the edge. So in your pursuit of musical excellence, are you just focusing on now doing what you know is really good, it suits you, and you're just going to keep perfecting this 70s style, or is there a little bit of constantly thinking about reinventing yourself sitting behind that?
I feel this is very much what the Making Worried Minds podcast that we're releasing is very much about me having to ask myself that question. Like, the album was coming out in 2023, and it was like the day it came out on Spotify, and me looking at the computer looking at a track listing on Spotify is the end of this 10-year chapter. Like, I was like, this isn't right. And I was like, so why do I want to do all this? Why did I start it? I couldn't remember really why I wanted, because I'd gotten so caught up in the press releases and the telling the right stories to reach the right people and trying to sort of play the game a little bit that happens behind the scenes, that I had to go on the journey to remember what I loved about this. And when I got to the end of making the podcast, it literally just is what you outlined. It was like, I think if you find what you love, and if people and audiences are telling you that they love it, you just have to then find more people that love it. And it's quite simple if you can pull away kind of all the other, I say simple, that's so stupid, but like it is just finding a way to lean into what people enjoy about you and trusting the process and the road. And you don't know where that is, you don't know where that's going to go, but the more opportunities you get to step up to the crease, right, and face the ball, then you're gonna improve what you do, and you just have to stay in the game.
So when you put your music out there, you hope people are going to get it. It's the live audiences, I suppose, that you can grow. You know you can grow them. You can sort of have an impression on them straight away. Do you have a preference for still to perform live to extend your audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think reaching people in 2020, what are we in, 2025, 2026, is like, that's kind of the biggest challenge now, isn't it? Is that what you do has to sort of fit into it doesn't matter what we do, whether we're artists or business people, or whether we've got a product that's like a toilet cleaner or whatever. Like, it's finding a way for that to actually reach people is quite difficult, because the market is so saturated. When there are dogs on Netflix, the dogs on Instagram and TikTok that have more followers than, or you singers that their shtick is singing off key and they have more followers than like Jimmy Barnes, you go, what is going on in the world? This is wild. So, and we lump that into the same world as the entertainment, as a legitimate entertainment. Like, that's a crazy kind of thing, but that's just the world. So I think you're right. Like, live is obviously where you can reach more people and you can put on a show. And I just think of them each as different kind of things that I enjoy. And how do I do the best in that area? And how do I serve the people that buy the tickets and give them the best show that they can have? And how do I make the best podcast and give that to the people that want it? And how do I make the best record in the best way that I can, that then people that want to spend their time with that can enjoy it? So if I compartmentalize those and think in that kind of way, I can just do the best job I can, and then hope people share it, and spread the word. And go speak the good gospel, really.
Well, we've been speaking to Jen Donovan today. Jen's our business expert, and she's very strong on, the role of small business. I see some pretty big parallels here. I don't know whether you've heard of a singer. She's having a birthday today. Her name's Taylor Swift. Have you heard of her?
Let me just Google her.
Yeah.
I just broke the internet.
Yeah. So, she has got what could best be described as a massive marketing machine behind her that, she just drops her name into the conversation and suddenly, as you say, the internet breaks. You look at what you're doing. You're the equivalent of someone who runs a small handmade leather goods shop, as distinct from that rather large online sales organisation that's named after a river in the South America. Yep. That we can't name because we're on community radio. You're fighting the machine, aren't you? And I'm really hesitating. So you should be raging against the machine. I'm not going to say that.
Yeah.
But it really is. You are the marketing department. You're the recording department. You're the talent. You're the face of the. You're up against some massive opposition, aren't you? And to get from where you are to where they are, and I suspect you haven't got designs on filling the MCG 7 times in a row, but to make a sensible dollar out of this, you are fighting City Hall, aren't you?
It's such a great way to frame it. The way you put it, like selling out the MCG 7 times, because I think that in some kind of dream world where we have as artists or performers, you see that as what success is in your head, because that is the version that we see out there as success. So you do kind of a bit naively go, how do I just get to there? How do I, by doing that and striving for that, you set that as the only marker of your own success. So for me, I had to sort of come to the realization of, hang on, I've kind of got this reverse. Just trying to, yes, you can work for the dream, and you can hope that one day that you could, do a tour as great as Billy Joel did and serve as many people that love music and have such a great time and have these memories and make these records that last forever. I mean, that can be the dream, right? But the reality is you have to do what today is to make that happen. And for me, that was not a natural process. I was not natural at all. I'm far too creative, and I'm far too my superpower is my ability to kind of imagine. And, I was a great theatre sports player, just whatever, just set me off and go. And so the practical stuff is the bit that took me a lot to find in my adult life. And so just kind of riffing on that thing about the 7 MCGs, I guess, for me it was like I had to, through this podcast again, sort of go, okay, Brad, you don't have to sell out the MCG today. And then I would say to sort of my business partners, and they'd be like, yeah, but that's not even possible, mate. Why would you even think that? I go, because in my head, the artist kid that started this dream thinks that's the only measure of success. I'm not there, I'm failing. Now, I don't know how if other people sort of feel like this. I don't know if that's kind of a very common thing. But that was the other reason I started going through the podcast, is because I felt like what if there are 95... I mean, it's funny you said Taylor Swift, because when I was talking to my brother, who was the story consultant on making this, who works in movies and a whole bunch of stuff, he's a very clever guy, I was talking to him about maybe doing the podcast, and he's like, don't you think that 95% of artists will probably never achieve their full dream, and 5% do? And it's probably even less than that. He said 5% of the world will be Taylor Swift. 1% of the world. There's only one Taylor Swift or Ed Sheeran or whatever, or Michael Jackson or the Beatles or Stones. And so I was like, yeah, maybe this story is relatable to a lot of people, that a lot of people that are making great stuff, as you guys so generously say about my work, that there are a lot of people just trying to find their way and stay in the game. And then the marketing machine and the way that we feel like we have to present as artists stops us from at least being a bit vulnerable about that, because we feel like we got to go, please come and, check out my new song, and it's all about this, and you'll love it because you, like me, love to love. If you don't frame it like that, then no one's going to want to listen to it. And I had an interview with Paul McCartney where he was like, I just kind of hate this. I just hate it. And I was like, right, well, I know that's Paul, Sir Paul, but if he's going to just be honest, then maybe we all should be, So I kind of have lost myself in your question now. I don't know if I've really answered it, but
No, I think it's interesting you brought up the. Did we mention the Brisbane Lions? Because I think you got to understand that I live in Geelong, and there are still some very angry people in this town admitting that. But I think
we are the pride of Brisbane town,
aren't we? Though we wear the maroon and blue and gold.
Yeah, of Fitzroy Old.
That's indeed. He knows his song. That's impressive. You need to get it. We need to get you to the Gabba to present to play the national anthem or something. That's my new goal, to get you onto the Gabba as a singer.
Mission. That'd be amazing.
But I think you look at, we've just been through the national draft, and you hear the stories of the kid who would have been drafted at number 98 if they hadn't stopped drafting at 97, and that kid shattered because since he was 5 he wanted to be an AFL footballer, and yet he goes back and he plays VFL, or he plays for the Motowari Warriors in the GDFL, and he makes a good fist of enjoying footy, and he might make a few bucks, and he still has to go and be a carpenter and stuff. But I think there's a very similar kind of feel here, that not everyone is going to be Lachie Neale, and that doesn't mean you can't enjoy what you're doing and potentially make something of a living out of it.
It's like the musicians that I met that weren't sort of as much hustling or grinding, or however you want to say it, as I was, to be like, how do I find that next little edge, and how do I find that little bit against the house so I can sort of keep maneuvering and keep getting up this ladder, this perceived ladder or whatever. And some of them would just say, no, I got off that rat race, and I'm just teaching now, right? And I started as a teacher as well as my day job. And that's one of the episodes we talk about, that where I was singing at this school, and they kind of were the ones that pushed me to go and be an entertainer, because these kids were just, it was like a rock concert every Friday at Assembly. And returning to that moment is part of the podcast, and it was like, there were people that decided that this is as what they wanted. They were happy here, they were content here, or at least they felt that they had the ability to go, well, maybe this is enough. I don't even know what is enough means, because it kind of implies that then, like, it's not as successful as someone that is successful.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's like, so that's, you're so right that, dreams, reality, life, striving, it's this, it's a feather in the wind, and it's up to the individual, I guess.
And it's really only one step between what Rob and I are doing here and having a national audience on commercial radio, and that is, we don't have any talent. But it's one of those things, isn't it? Things happen in really weird and wonderful ways, and someone out there might be listening and go, actually, you know what, I can get him onto the Gabba, and you get onto the Gabba and you sing, and that's the joy of doing what you're doing, I suspect, and also the enormous frustration.
If you don't focus on the wins or I think the enjoyment is key. That's what I've decided now for myself. When we last spoke and the album was coming out, and I was like, why am I talking about something if I am not playing the MCG? That's how I felt.
Mm.
It's like, why am I doing this? And I was like, because this is just who you are. You're here to sing songs. You're here to tell stories, provide reflection points. That's, you're the muse and the minstrel and the clown. And that's it. That's what you're good at. So just go and do it every day and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if it turns into one day, singing at the Olympics when in your hometown, if you still live here, then great. And if it doesn't, then you find a way to process that and to live a good life and or enjoy your life and be surrounded with people that care about you and you care about. For me, if we focus too much on the other side, then you lose all those things. You don't have any friendships or relationships because everything is just, I'm not playing the MCG. Who would want to hang out with me? Well, no one, because all you do is complain about the MCG.
Well, we enjoy hanging out with you, but sadly that is about to end because we have time demands upon us. But we do need to know some specifics around the podcast. How many episodes? Where can we find it? When's it available? All that kind of stuff.
So we're going to be rolling out the first 3 episodes over the next week. So you can find it anywhere you get your podcast by searching Making Worried Minds, Bradley McCaw. And so the first 3 episodes will be out. There will be 10 episodes, and we'll release the last episodes next year, leading into what will be my first single from my next record. And yeah, so that's it. I'm so excited for people to hear it, and the fact that it features some people they already know, like yourselves.
Yeah, I don't want to make a big point of this, but I have actually heard part of it, and I think when you say yourselves, I think you mean Rob.
Well,
Yeah, look, I'm not dirty about that in any way, shape, or form.
Thanks, Brad. You've made my day.
You know, but that's okay. You know, go with the talent if you want to. But you know,
I didn't at all go with the best sound grab and the best question that fit the dramatic structure of the show. It was all about who I liked the most.
yeah, no, fair enough too. Fair enough too.
Good on you, buddy.
He's very likable for a Geelong supporter. I'm looking at a podcast store which is simultaneously the same brand as my Apple iPhone, and I can see Making Worried Minds in the podcast already in the podcast store, so you can actually find, I don't know whether there's any episodes there, but the trailer is certainly there.
The trailer's up, so you can subscribe and you will get the first episode when it comes out next week.
Sounds like a plan to us. Brad, all the very best with the podcast. You're a singer, you're a writer, you're a piano player, and now you're a podcast host. There's only one thing left to do, and that is to get yourself a high-rating radio program on a Saturday morning, and then you will have made it.
Yeah.
But when that happens, you have to usher in the next gen. When that happens, I'll be for a run on the field. I'm ready. Excellent
to hear. Bradley McCaw, we are going to ask our listeners to do something very important, and that is we are going to send them to Bradley McCaw Official.com. Now, McCaw is MCCAW. So Bradley, it's got the whole Bradley McCaw thing going on. BradleyMcCawOfficial.com. Please go on there and check out what Brad's up to. And what would make our day, and no doubt make his day, would be to put your hand in your pocket. I know times are tough, but buy a CD. Because that's how we get people like Brad to be a little bit more widely recognised. Buy a CD and give it to someone for Christmas. There's an opportunity for you.
It's a great marketing plan.
You happy with that?
I love that. Grab the vinyl.
Now, we weren't sure... Well, the vinyl, of course. That's the go these days, isn't it?
Mm.
Now, we were wondering who we should play coming out of this particular conversation. I thought, you know what? We should play someone like you.
Oh, I would love that.
So we're going to play Someone Like You, which is sung by someone like you and your friend Paulini.
Love it.
Bradley McCaw, have a great Christmas, and we'll talk in the new year, I have no doubt.
Can't wait. Thanks for having me, guys.
See you, buddy.
Here
Look
he
after
is.
yourself.